Good evening, everyone. Today we will have an interview with wonderful Leona. I am waiting for Leona to join us, and we just had a test and know that everything is okay. So I see you, Leona, and I will send you in the interview. Great. Okay. Hi,
Hello.
Leona.
Hi, Guda. How are
Good
you?
afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good
Can you
afternoon.
can you see can you hear me well?
Yes, I can.
Great,
Yes.
great.
Yeah.
Okay. So today we will have an interview with wonderful Leona. This interview will be 20 to 30 minutes, and it's about her personal journey related to early intervention for deaf and hard of hearing children, her insights and her experience in this beautiful journey. And the name of this series of interviews is Echoes of Inspiration. So great. Thank you, Leona. Thank you for accepting our invitation to join us with this interview. Could you please shortly introduce yourself?
Yes. Well, thank you for this invitation. I really appreciate it, Guda. So I'm Leona. So I have a bilateral hearing loss and my whole life. So I'm actually here in Toronto, Ontario, and I am both an educator and a registered psychotherapist qualifying.
Wonderful. Okay, Leona. So I know that you are now you will soon get your master's in psychotherapy in counseling.
Yes,
And am I correct?
yes,
Yes.
I'm graduating, so I'm done my practicum.
Great. And
So
you are now doing your like, is it the supervision? You are doing your. So what's right at the moment? What are you doing?
at this moment, because I completed so I had two practicum, I completed both.
Uh huh.
So right now I'm currently working for Karma Care as as a contractor. So I'm no longer an intern. So
Great, great.
yes, so yes.
Okay, okay. Sorry, because I was confused. I was thinking, what was your, what's your work now, or what are you doing now? But I didn't recall it. Okay, okay. So, Leona, could you please bring us to take us to the your childhood, like when you were a little child, and when you learned you were deaf, and all the emotions or experience, anything you want to share with us.
Okay, going back. Well, I guess to going back to the pivotal moment in my life when I realized I have a hearing loss. So I, I was about 8 years old, maybe 8 or 9. Can't really remember exactly. At 8 or 9, and it was the time when my parents and I find out we don't know. We really don't know if I was born with a hearing loss. We have no idea. We just find out. So I think what happened was, I'll make it short. When the school I was in at that time, so I was the only one with a hearing loss at that school. So they mentioned to my parents that I was very unusually quiet for a child. I was so quiet, and they wonder like why I'm so quiet. I think there were times that I didn't respond um, normally, like a child would. They could ask a child a question, they would respond or something, but I didn't respond properly, and I was very quiet. So they suggested my parents to see a doctor. So they took me to the doctor, And we went to the doctor. They check everything, body check everything, my tongue, and see what's going, maybe my eyes. I don't know. They're trying to see what's going on, and then they find out when they check my hearing, and they realize, oh, your daughter has a hearing loss. And so how I felt. That's a very good question because I think I was confused. I was mostly confused. I think I was uncertain. I was like, what's going on? I was only a kid. So I think I was kind of lost maybe. I just don't know like what was going on. But I did remember I checked with my mom. I asked how she felt. She said she felt a sense of denial when she received my diagnosis. She didn't believe it. So, and as an educator myself, I work with kids. So I understand that it's a natural reaction for a parent to have when they first learn that their child has a condition. It's natural. It's understandable. So I think that's pretty much like how I felt, how we find out, and
Great. Okay.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Mhm.
So, what was the biggest turning point in your journey? So, what, the one that changed the way you saw the world and yourself as a child, or something like that?
Good question. There were so many. I think the turning point was when I was in a deaf and hard of hearing classroom, and I think I had a couple of deaf or hard of hearing educators, and I was in awe of their confidence, their determination, and they have a hearing loss like me. And I think at that time, I think that was my turning point when I realized, oh, if they could do this, they could pursue their goals with such assurance, then I could too. So I think that was the turning point, I believe. But there's so many.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that many deaf people tell us,
Yeah.
and it shows that how important are the deaf role models,
Mhm.
the younger people, the bigger role models that
Mhm.
can guide and give an insight to the child so that she or he knows that she's not alone, she's not the only one who's deaf, and there are
Mhm.
many successful people just like her, just like
Mhm.
him, and this is very important. So Leona, if you could talk to your younger self,
Mhm.
like, or your parent, um, what would you say?
Hmm. Good question again. I would say a lot of things to myself. I think one of the key things I would say to myself is to, um, like I may not hear perfectly, I, but I have other abilities and skills that I can enhance. And also, I would say to my younger self to embrace your individuality and to view the challenges through like a strength-based perspective. Like instead of a challenge, it's more of a strength. So I think that's something I would say to myself to just embrace myself more and to not view my hearing loss like like a hindrance, but more like a tool for me to use to maybe to be a better self so that other people can be inspired, like you say about an educator, right? An educator being a role model, something like that. Yeah.
So great, thank you, awesome. So, who was there for you? Like, who was your biggest and the best advocate? Um, do you remember anyone who was for you at those tough moments or years?
Um, like a tough moment for when hmm, you mean like as a memory that stand out, something like that.
So who was your support?
Uh, it's that's hard to answer because there's so many.
Okay,
I
great.
I but I guess I guess I think I would say like there's so many like my parents, my teachers, even my younger brother. I feel like they all play a significant role in my development. It's in different ways, like to encourage me, the way they support me. I feel fortunate to, to have a strong support system. It's really hard to pick one, to be honest.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah,
great because you have
yeah.
some supports and it
Mhm,
made you stronger and made you
mhm,
to advocate for yourself. And this is something that we always tell parents
mhm,
to let your children advocate for themselves and
mhm,
speak for themselves and have the confidence
mhm.
and accept their hearing loss. So all of these things are so important. So do you have any memory from those early years that you overcame in a challenge or
Mm,
something like a success?
hmm. I think one key memory I feel like it stands out is I it's like it's kind of related to my disability sort of. I think when I find out about my hearing loss, I was naturally shy, but like at that time when I found out my hearing loss, it made it more challenging for me to speak up. So I think one key memory is when I overcome that fear of speaking up and overcome my shyness and I pushed myself to take drama presentation classes so that I can find my own voice. So I think that would be the memory that stand out. That also helped me to be more confident in myself as a person with hearing loss. Yes.
Great, I love it. I love it. Okay, so we are doing an interview with Leona, with wonderful Leona. Leona is a deaf psychotherapist, and this series of interviews are called Echoes of Inspiration. Each time we have a guest who is deaf or hard of hearing, or a parent or a professional. Okay, Leona, so could you please share a beautiful or unexpected gift of your journey?
Mm, oh, that's a very good question. Another one. I think there's so many beautiful and special gifts of my journey. I think one I would say, I think that might be unexpected, maybe surprisingly. I would say the day that my family and I discovered my hearing loss. And I think if that moment didn't happen, if we didn't find out, my life would have been entirely different. I don't know how my life would turn out. I would not know. I would not receive the support I have. I would not, meet people, wonderful people who really inspire me. I think that would be the key gift, I would say. Yes.
Awesome,
Yes.
awesome.
Yes.
Okay, so Leona, what's something you wish every parent of deaf and hard of hearing child knew from the first day, the day one that they know that they have a deaf child?
Okay. I think maybe to that's a good question. I would say one thing would be to recognize I would say that although that first time would might be challenging for them to find out, which is understandable because it's different maybe from what they expected and they may have their own concern. But I would probably say that is no, every child is unique and they have different needs and even though they have different abilities, but deaf and hard of hearing children, they are children just like everyone else, every other children, and as parents, as even as educators, they are kids who also look up to us and, look up to us to be a role model that they need, and and to realize that they have the potential to be stronger, healthier, beautiful version of themselves, and to rise above all challenges. Yeah.
Great, thank you. So what's if you have a dream for next generation of deaf and hard of hearing children, what would it be? Like the best dream you have?
Oh God, I'm gonna be honest. I have so many, so many dreams for the next generation for the deaf and hard of hearing. I it's it's to that's such a good question. I think it's for them like to kind of. I think it goes with the saying that to um hopefully the next generation become, it might sound a little cliche, but to become the leader, to can who can be who can show that anything is possible, and but not only to show but really be themselves, who's not afraid to be themselves, who's not afraid to embrace themselves, and to inspire one another, even themselves, and to really uh, be the leader that also for the next generation of children who are deaf and hard of hearing as well, because kids, they really look up to adults, they really look up to people around them. So I think that would be my dream in general. Yes.
Thank you, Leona. So, Faranak Impact is a social enterprise that advocates for deaf and hard of hearing children. Our main mission and vision is to have a better world for all deaf and hard of hearing children, and to help them to have access to best quality early intervention services, either in sign language or spoken language or both of them. It, anything that the family choose. So, if I know that Leona, you have worked with some deaf guys, like the most important focus on your work, as you told me, was is on deaf is on adults, like adolescents, young adults in and you help them with to work with their anxiety, depression, traumas. So um, if someone is looking at this interview now and they are feeling lost right now, um, what words of hope would you say to them?
Good question. I would say that um, that every opportunity, um, let me go back. Every challenge is an opportunity for growth, and that every challenge is also a way to reach out to for support, whether it's from me, from other professional, or anyone who can provide the support that they need. And to I'm sure as as many have heard this, but it is true. You're not alone. You're not alone, and there are people who can relate to you. There are people who are willing to listen, and although every journey is different, everybody have different journey. Um, there are people who are willing to be a listening ear and who can support you to find the answer within yourself. And but at the same time, for those who are looking for support, you are the only one that knows yourself better than anyone. But it's important to seek support when you need it, and because there are people who are willing to be there and to help to find your way back to, I guess, to where you belong or to find your own path.
Thank you so much. So we are in an interview with Leona. Leona is a Toronto-based professional registered psychotherapist qualifying and registered early childhood educator. She is about to complete her master's in Masters of Arts in Counseling Psychotherapy, and her internship psychotherapy counseling is mostly in supporting and focus on youth and adults to work through their anxiety, depression, grief, trauma, etc. And she especially focuses on adolescents and adults. Being a person growing up with bilateral hearing loss, Leona is dedicated to make a better place, to have better inclusion, early prevention, and creating accessible, culturally sensitive healing spaces. So, Leona, I have a question. Was there any time in your childhood or adolescence that you feel like unseen or unheard?
Mm. There are definitely times when I felt unheard or unseen. I think particularly like if I'm going back to my childhood or whatnot, like if I'm in the classroom for people who are hearing and I'm the only one that have a hearing loss and everyone can hear. So I think that was the time when I felt unheard or unseen. Um, so I didn't feel like I was fully accepted for who I am. But at the same time, I've grown to understand that it's it's due to the lack of, it's because at that time people weren't informed about hearing loss, put it that way. So it's that's when I realized by sharing my story and by educating some people about hearing loss, it really opened the doors for people to understand more and to to kind of let them open up, help them to see from my perspective, and hopefully they understand more about where I'm coming from. So I would say that that would be the time when, yeah, I felt unheard. But
So,
yeah,
Leona, are you an immigrant or you were born in Canada?
I was born and raised in Toronto.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
So
I was,
actually,
yes.
sorry, I think this made everything, easier for you, because I know some newcomers like immigrants, and the situation is somehow more challenging for them because they are
Mm-hmm.
new to country, they do not know the rules, the supports, available supports, and just they sometimes feel like unheard or lost. Is it
Mm.
correct?
I don't, I'm not too sure. I can only comment from my perspective. But for me, to be honest, even when I was born here, my first language was not English. Believe it or not, my first language was Chinese. But um, from what I was told, so and I was a bit. I actually entered. I went to school late. I didn't start school right at a usual age. So in a way, I even though I was born here, I felt like I had a bit of because I had a bit of a delay in going to school and delay in language. Um, I think in a way, I feel like I can relate in to a certain extent, not totally, but with the immigrant in my experience, I would say yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
So Leona, it's just some minutes. We have some minutes, and we will finish the interview soon. I would like to ask you if the world could change one thing to support better deaf and hard of hearing children and their families, what should it be?
Um, I think there's so many ways that we could change to support them. Um, I feel like I might be kind of repeating myself a little bit earlier, but I think one thing is to better support deaf and hard of hearing children. It's supposed to have this lens that they're just like every child, except they are unique with different needs. And I noticed, thinking about that, because they have the early intervention, they start to check to hearing early, and it it helped a lot. It makes a huge difference. But at the same time, I have noticed, I'm not sure from my perspective, that it may have affected maybe the sign language, there are not a lot of people using ESL. So I think one thing I would say to better support them is to really allow them to be the unique self, even though we have early intervention, we have a lot of advanced technology to help them to hear better or so forth, but to really allow them to use their own language, their own unique self to come through, and to realize that, by supporting them, and by trying to understand, even though we may not fully understand them as a hearing individual, but to have an open mind about their culture, I think that would really make a difference. It can help bridge a lot of communities together, and to really come together, and
Yes, yes.
to live in this world in harmony. So,
Great.
yeah.
That's a good point. Actually, I was watching a post on Instagram, and a guy was telling, he was like explaining about himself, and he says, like, deafness is a spectrum, just like,
Mhm.
the autism, you know. It's a
Mhm.
spectrum. So we have a lot of, different types of people with different types of, needed support. And
Mhm.
some have hearing aids, or some have cochlear implant, some do not have, or some use sign language, some use spoken language, some both, even
Mhm.
some
Yeah.
have, to use cute speech. So we should respect, you know, everyone, and respect the choice,
Mhm.
what they have chosen for themselves, or
Mhm.
what they identify themselves with.
Mhm.
Yes, okay. So
Yeah.
sorry, we do not have an ASL interpreter, but this will be recorded, and we will post the record on Instagram, and it will have a closed caption.
Mhm.
So people, I see someone is telling about closed caption. I do not know if I can open closed caption. I
Mm.
couldn't find it. Sorry. My apologies, but it will be recorded, and the recorded, file and the post will have the closed caption. Okay, thank you. So today we had an interview with Leona. Leona is a deaf psychotherapist based in Toronto, and she was here with us with her beautiful journey, talking about herself, her childhood and her experiences with her life and a journey as a deaf child. And these interview series are intended to talk about early intervention with different people. Either they are parents, they are professionals, or they are themselves deaf and hard of hearing people. Okay, thank you everyone for being with us today. And Leona, do you want to tell anything?
Thank you again, everyone, for listening in. I really appreciate your time, and I hope you enjoyed this interview.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of the day and see you with another interview soon. Bye for now.
Bye.